This week, Dallas Cowboys sports writer Mickey Spagnola. And now the man with all the questions, never the answers. Here's Terry Sullivan.
You got to stop with the one-liners because they're just goofy.
No.
That's the goofiest.
What? No, it's not. I've done much goofier. Wait, I mean, no.
You know, I can get another musician. There's a lot of them out there looking for work free. Hey, you wrote that tune, and now you have a name for it.
I do.
What is it?
It is the Sullivan Shuffle.
You're pretty big time. You got a song named after you?
Mickey, don't you think that's the dumbest name? But we're going to keep it because you said it.
Hey, I guarantee it's going to go double plywood.
Mickey, it's so good to have you.
Good to be here. What a professional operation you got here.
Well, we did it just for you, Mickey. Normally it's just one camera and one chair. We sit in the same chair. So, Mickey, you got home late last night because you were at the football game. By the way, Mickey Spagnola, sports writer for the Dallas Cowboys, for how many years?
Well, I started with the Cowboys in 2000. But I'd been covering them in some form or fashion since about the middle of the 1984 season, if you can believe that. So it's been, been quite a ride covering them almost, more than half of their existence, as a matter of fact. Every head coach they've had, I've been there. Started with Landry to Jimmy, to Switzer, Gailey, Campo, Parcells, Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett, and now Mike McCarthy.
Mickey, when Jerry Jones bought the Dallas Cowboys, I want to talk to you about some personal stuff and a little bit about your background, but since we're already in this, let's go with it. When Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys and fired Tom Landry, it just ruffled a lot of feathers in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. My dad was one of them. My dad was a diehard Cowboy fan, and when all that took place, and of course, nobody knew what was going on behind the scenes.
Right.
You probably did. We want to talk about that. But my dad would not watch the Cowboys for several seasons because he just couldn't get past that transition. What exactly happened there when Jerry came on board?
Well, I think when Jerry bought the team, his intention was to run the operation. And I think he wanted his own people in there. Now, what everybody forgets is the Cowboys had a losing season in 86, 87, and 88. So things were kind of sliding. And truth be known, I think Tex Schramm knew they needed to have a change even before the sale. But obviously he wasn't going to fire Tom Landry.
Right.
I think at times, especially after that 88 season, I think Tex was hoping that Tom would just retire. And as a matter of fact, I remember them having a press conference there, probably in January, I want to say, and I think Tex thought Tom was going to retire. And then he announced this new 3-year plan, and you could see the color just went right out of Tex's face, right? And then the other thing that I don't know if a lot of people know, but when the Super Bowl was in Miami after the 88 season, if I got my years right, guess who was a guest in the Cowboy suite in Miami?
I would say Tom Landry.
It was Jimmy Johnson.
Oh.
How about that? So Gil Brandt, he was big in college football, and he knew a lot of people, and he invited Jimmy to be in their suite for the Super Bowl. So that was kind of in the back of someone's mind before Jerry even bought the team in February. And, you know, what should have happened, because before they sold the team, when they knew they were going to sell it, I think it was incumbent on the old owner, Bum Bright, to clean house. You know, give Jerry a clean slate if indeed he didn't want Tom Landry there. Well, he didn't do that. And so it was kind of clumsy. When Jerry bought the team, I don't think he wanted to give any thought that, okay, Tom's going to be here, we're going forward. I'm in charge, and the reason I'm doing this is because I've got Jimmy in my back pocket, and this is what we wanted to do. So it was just, he was in an unenviable situation. Bum Bright should have done it, and he didn't. And I don't think he got along with Tom very well for whatever reason. And it's almost like he left him there to twist in the wind.
Well, I mean, you know, the truth is, no matter what corporation, business, government, when a new owner comes in, he brings his own people.
Right.
I think the problem with that was just the transition, just the way that it happened, and the way that the media spun it out to the public. I think it just ruffled a lot of feathers, but it was going to have to happen anyway.
Right. And the unfortunate thing is, and again, when you're kind of new to this, Jerry, Jimmy, you know, they get caught the night before the sale was announced having dinner at the Mexican restaurant in Dallas, right? And just so happened there was a reporter from the Dallas Morning News having dinner there the same night, and he was big covering college football. And he looked up and it's like, oh, look at this. And so that kind of spun the thing out of control. And, you know, there was just a lot of people that had covered the team for so long, I think, that felt offended by how harsh the transition was. But Jerry could have just said, hey, you know, this is going to, I mean, Tex could have said, hey, this is what's going down. And he actually told Tom not to leave town, and he did. And he went to Austin to play golf. So Jerry had to go all the way to Austin, and he could have done it, you know, okay, here's your yellow slip, you're out, and not do it face to face. But he thought the right thing to do was go tell him himself.
Was Jerry and Tom friends ever?
I don't know if it was ever a friendship, like, hey, yeah, come over to my place for dinner, anything like that. Although over time, I think Tom sort of got over it. I don't think his family did. And you can understand when you do something for 29 years and did it well for, you know, all those years, the 20-year consecutive winning streak, yeah, it's kind of hard to take. But I think Tom sort of understood. I think he just felt the way it happened, it offended him.
Yeah, well, that's the way a lot of people felt, the
Yeah.
way it happened. That's the way my dad felt. That's what he talked about. But as we're talking here, most people, if not all people, other than those that were within that circle, really knew all the pieces and the moving parts and how it went down. And it makes a whole lot more sense when you kind of know those back moving parts.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that. It really didn't get out. Now, Jimmy's got a book out there, Swagger, and we'll see if he deals with the transition. I haven't had a chance, well, it hasn't had a chance to read it yet, but it'll be interesting to see his memory of the history and how things went down.
Mickey, do you go to all the games?
Yes, I had been to all but one game since the start of the '89 season until COVID hit. And the reason I missed the season opener in 2018, it was, I came back from training camp with a foot infection. and landed in the hospital. And it was like they finally let me out, but I was thinking, yeah, it's probably not going to be the smart thing to one day later fly somewhere, right? So that was the first game I had missed since the start of the '89 season.
That was a tough game last night.
It was a very tough game, you know, and I assume this happens sometimes in the NFL, that you lose one that you really should have won.
Right.
They really should have won that game. I mean, it's 28-14 heading into the fourth quarter, and you're sitting there going, okay, they're going to finish this thing off. Unbeknownst at that time, we found out afterwards, and I don't know who did the research, but for the times, the Cowboys had taken a 14-point lead going into the fourth quarter. They were 195-0. They had never lost a game in the fourth.
195-0
in the fourth quarter with a 14-point lead, and now they emerge 195-1 after that overtime loss, 31-28 to the Packers. Where, how many times have we seen weird stuff happen at Lambeau Field, right? Somebody needs to exercise whatever's been going on there.
Well, also you can never underestimate the abilities of Aaron Rodgers.
No, and even when they've been struggling, it's been a 5-game losing streak, right? They're 3-6, and somebody said, "So what worries you?" I said, "Aaron Rodgers."
Sure.
Yeah, but he's not playing well. Well, it's still Aaron Rodgers. He has the ability to do things when he needs to do them. And he only completed 14 of 20 passes in the game, but 3 of them are touchdowns to Christian Watson, their rookie receiver, who had no touchdowns up until that game.
In fact, he had some major drops in major
and
games.
that was one of his downsides, I understand, going into the draft, because I looked at his stuff and I'm going, this guy's pretty good. The Cowboys probably need to take a look at him. And then I found out that, yeah, highlight films, right? But that he had a problem with drops. And it was like, I don't know about this guy. And he came into the league and he had the same thing. And then all of a sudden in this game, he emerges, and that's the Christian Watson that you thought was there without the drops. And he catches everything. And the darndest thing and it wasn't him, on basically the play that put them in field goal range. It was the third down completion. They're in an empty formation, and the Cowboys have their rookie corner on the receiver. And when the receiver made his move, he fell down. And that's why he was so wide open.
Lambeau.
It was like, it's that grass, by the way, that's not all grass. So they've got grass, and they weaved in some synthetic grass in there. That's why in the middle of November in gosh darn Green Bay, when it's 30 degrees with a wind chill in the 20s, they got green grass. How do you have green grass that time of year, that far north? But they weave in this other stuff, and it gives the appearance that they've got real grass out there. But he fell down. Everybody's like, oh, what a great call, what great execution. And the guy took 2 steps, and Duron Bland fell down. So there they are in field goal range, and they're able to kick the winning field goal. And I know there was some criticism out there right away that the Cowboys should have kicked the field goal on 4th and 3 when they were at the Green Bay 35-yard line. But what folks didn't understand is Brett Maher was having trouble with distance kicking that direction on his kickoffs. And if you go back and look, the kickoffs were starting to land at the goal line, at the 5-yard line, at the 10-yard line, and that's the direction he would have had to kick. And I'm not sure he could have gotten there from 53-yard. You saw what happened to their guy, Crosby.
Sure. That
field goal that he missed early in the game. For some reason, the wind kind of switched because it had been blowing the other way into their face, and it switched, and then it was cold. And I don't know if anybody saw this on TV, but when the Cowboys were driving in overtime, Brett Maher was standing in front of the heater, the blower, and he had his foot up in the air trying to warm his foot up before he had to go out there and possibly kick a field goal.
There's a lot of recliner quarterbacks that shoulda, woulda, coulda. You know.
Absolutely.
They don't know.
I thought they should have gone for it because I didn't know he would have had the distance there. And then on top of it, so you kick a field goal. The way the Packers were moving the ball, Rodgers are going to come down and score a touchdown. And they would have if they had to on that drive. They settled for a 28-yard field goal, but you saw them march. Boom, 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 right down the field. So, yeah. And again, if you had kicked the field goal and somehow made it, now you got to kick off into that win, and they're going to return the ball to the 30, 35-yard line where it ended up, and you saw how easily they moved downfield. So, to me, the decision to keep going and try to either kick a shorter field goal or score a touchdown, I think that's what they had to do.
Mickey, what is it with these franchise quarterbacks, these guys that play on levels that maybe not all of them play, like Aaron Rodgers?
Right.
What is it with these guys that it just seems like that they can flip a switch and become a better quarterback at any given time?
You know, after the game, I'm trying to remember who said it. I think it was Zach Martin, and somebody mentioned Aaron Rodgers, and he said they made the plays when it mattered, and that's what these guys do. They make the plays when they matter. Tom Brady, you know, that you can struggle for 3.5 quarters, but when it's time to win the game, somehow, some way, they come up with the play. And you know, just remember the 2016 season playoff loss to Green Bay when the Cowboys drove in Dak's rookie season to tie the game and left them maybe 50 seconds, and he found a way to get the ball downfield to kick the game-winning field goal as time expired.
Peyton
Even if it was a 53-yarder, and you're right, you were going to say Peyton Manning.
He was
same
a
thing,
master at that.
Right?
Master
Same thing.
But they've got all this ability, this physical ability to play this game. They've played it all of their life, and they make it look pretty easy, although it's not.
Right.
How much of that is their leadership in the huddle? How much of it is them convincing their team, we can do this?
Well, and probably if guys played long enough with them, they know that guy's going to do this, right? They have confidence in him, and they just somehow make plays, and that's why they're still playing if they're still playing. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, you know, Peyton Manning played forever. And those guys, people have confidence in them. And I think when you play with confidence, you end up doing good things. And we've seen it repeatedly with Rodgers. And again, going into that game, you know, I did a little reception for Star Sports Tours, and somebody asked me, what do you fear about this game since the Cowboys are favored? They're going into Lambeau. That team's lost 5 straight. I said, number 1, Aaron Rodgers. Number 2, in the NFL, I have this philosophy that the more you win, you're closer to losing because you're not going to win them all. And the more you lose, you're closer to winning because you're not going to lose them all. And, you know, the odds were at some point the Packers were going to win. You just didn't want it to be against you, right? And, you know, even though it took overtime, they figured out a way to get it done.
We needed that win and should have had that win.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
You mentioned Tom Brady. Mickey, as someone who's covered this sport for a long time, do you see any difference in his play at his age that us normal people that watch on TV that we don't see?
No, I still think he's playing at an awfully high level. And those guys with that talent at that age can do it as long as they're willing to do the preparation. Because a lot of times when guys get older, they don't want to prepare as much as they did when they were 25, right? And so if you still have that drive to prepare, not only physically, but for the quarterback mentally, then you can do some of the things that you see Brady doing. And again, it reminds me that, yeah, you got to have the quarterback, but you're not out there, as Bill Parcells would say, playing singles, right? This is a team game. And I always get irritated about people saying, well, that quarterback, he's getting paid all that money. He's got to put the team on his back. Well, this is the grandest team game ever out there in sports. Sure. And it takes a lot of guys, and you got to have people around them. And we saw a little bit of that with Aaron Rodgers. The receiving core wasn't what it used to be. He took all the money, and they didn't have much to re-sign Devontae Adams, their best receiver. So now he's out there with a bunch of young guys. And sometimes it takes a while for these young guys to grow up. And unfortunately for the Cowboys, on that Sunday night, Christian Watson grew up before our very eyes.
He blossomed, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
He said, "This is who I am," and
right?
the media said, "This is who he is."
And Rodgers said, "Okay, just catch it. Here it is." And boy, did he.
So we lost in overtime. I see you drinking out of my fancy cup.
Mickey.
That's you.
I don't get many cups with my name on.
I know. Listen, that's special. So Mick, you traveled to all the games. You traveled with the team on the chartered planes. What is when they play a game like they played against Green Bay, and it was a hard-fought game, they know they should have won, they lost in overtime by a field goal. What's the mindset on the plane coming back?
So this one, by time we probably took off, it was 9:30, something like that. I'm sitting there working. So we're kind of sectioned in the plane where the majority of the players are in the back behind us. In coach, by the way.
Oh, you got first class.
No. We got the pre-coach. And then there's coach, right? Yeah. And they get a seat in between them, too. So they sleep. They are tuckered out, worn out, and generally over the years they sleep. And you know what? Win or lose, the winning part kind of wears off about half hour after takeoff, and then it's quiet, and there's a lot of sleeping. Unless you've won a game that beckons some celebration, but very rarely are the Cowboys playing a noon game where you're done at 3, you're on the plane at 5, you're home by 8, right? Probably not as much sleeping then, but usually the night games or the late starts, it's pretty quiet, and especially after a loss like that.
I've often thought about that because, this is your occupation, this is your career, this is what you've done your whole life. So does winning or losing still affect you the same as it did pre-NFL?
Yeah, and I thought after this game and this particular loss to the Packers, almost to a man, everybody was saying, this is one game. We can't make it 2 games by, oh, woe is me, and then you go to Minnesota and you lose that game the next Sunday. So I think in their mindset, and if you're a competitor, you're always competing in your mind, right? And you got to convince yourself, okay, we lost this one, I'm going to win the next one, right? And I can't feel sorry for myself. I got to go forward. And then the other point they were making was we still got 8 games to play. So this was one game. We got to go forward. Still got a lot of things to accomplish in front of us. And so that's kind of their mindset.
Mickey, are the players able to are they able to do that within themselves, or do they still need a coach or coaches to push them into that space?
I think they can kind of compartmentalize that it was one game. And yeah, the coaches help, but after a loss like that, I mean, there's not much Mike McCarthy can say to them. It's like, okay, we got to get back to work and, clean some things up. I don't think you get any rah-rah speeches after a really bitter loss like that. Now, when they get back in the building on the Monday, you know, then it's the pickup speech and things like that, and we got to go forward. But yeah, I think players sort of know that, and they sort of set the tone, you know, and they listen to what Dak Prescott says after the game, and that was kind of his message, and they pretty much follow him wherever he's going, whatever he's saying.
He's got that kind of leadership.
Yes, it's just amazing how he can relate to everybody.
Can Dak take us to the promised land?
Yeah, absolutely. But he's got to have some guys with him. Now, he got off to a tough start in this game with the 2 interceptions that ended up leading to 2 touchdowns that got the Packers back in the game. But quarterbacks always fall on their sword, even if it's not their mistake, and especially if it's not their mistake, they'll cover for their guys because he knows that I need these guys to succeed. I think both interceptions, he was expecting the receiver to do something that he didn't do, and he basically kind of covered for him and was nice about it. I saw it one way, they saw it the other way. No, they're supposed to see it the way he sees it.
And
right?
they're both frustrated. I mean, you could see that both of the receiver and Dak were frustrated because they were seeing it a different way. But they pulled it together. We've got a great year going. We've got a year where we could, after 27 years of not winning a Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl we won was against Pittsburgh in 1997, I believe.
It would have been
96.
January of 96.
Yes. And we've only won 3 playoff games since then. But we've got a good run going. I hope we go all the way. I have a brief question, and we've got to go. Mick, I'm going to have you back every week.
We're going to have several episodes, right?
We are, because there's so much information here, and you've been doing this for so long. But Jerry Jones, obviously, is a controversial figure around the world. Is that who he is in person, or is that who he is spotlighted in the world?
Yeah, he doesn't make much up. He is who he is, and I think he learned this from Tex Schramm. And you know, they stayed together about after the sale, maybe. So it was February 25th of '89, and I think Tex stayed there into May. And I think Jerry learned from Tex that it doesn't matter what they're saying about you, good or bad, as long as they're saying, right? And when people quit, you know, either side of the conversation, they quit talking to you or talking about it, then you're in trouble. So that's why he doesn't mind being out there saying things that he says, because he knows it's the Cowboys and he knows he's going to get attention.
I heard somebody say one time that let them talk, good or bad, it doesn't matter, it keeps you popular.
Right.
He's kind of in that realm. Mickey, I appreciate your friendship. We've been friends a long time. I know you're busy. I appreciate you making time to come on this show. And we'll do it again. Terry, take us, buddy.